Welcome to Facing Future TV. I am your host, Raya Salter. Today is part 2 of my discussion with Luis Marquez. Professor Marquez is a professor of environmental history at the State University of Campinas in São Paulo, Brazil. Here we continue to discuss his upcoming book, The Decisive Decade, and how both exponential growth and the ticking time bomb that is the climate crisis make this very decade the most decisive in human history. Professor, this is so profound. I'm hearing that we know that from the IPCC that this is coming from human activity. We are doing this. And it is that acceleration, which is speeding, is it fair to say, the acceleration itself is speeding up the climate crisis and these impacts that you are observing?
Yes. The question, Raya, is that acceleration is a very dangerous process, in the sense that we tend to project the future based on the experience of the past. So our experience is based in our memory. And the problem of acceleration is this is a very treacherous way to project the future based on the experience of the past, because it will be completely different in terms of speed. And it's a very difficult way, to apprehend our future, because we think that, yeah, we know that there is warming, etc., but well, in the last 10 years, it was okay. It was a little bit problem. The next 10 years will be much worse.
Why was 1990 so important? Like, what happened in 1990 that caused such a big jump?
No, I think that it is cumulative. There is no linear progression. The Earth system is accumulating more, for instance, greenhouse gases, more pollution, etc., and at a certain moment, our tools of measurement are able to really see the difference. But for us to see this difference, there was before a kind of 1 century of accumulation of greenhouse gases. But these greenhouse gases were not yet enough, because the Earth system is adapted, So there is a kind of resilience of the system. But this resilience has a limit. And after this limit, we can see with our eyes and our time experience the difference. But the difference were there. You see in that graph, there was a small change in temperature, but it was so small that it was confused with the natural variability of the Earth's temperature, because there is the natural variation, and it's very difficult to say. When James Hansen made this testimony in the Senate in 1988, he said this exactly. But it was in 1988. He said, "Now we have enough data to say that this warming is not caused by natural variation. It's caused by human activity." Because until there, you were not sure. We are not sure, And all the same for the sea level rise and other phenomena.
So we play catch up. We play catch up. Our understanding and knowledge has to catch up to what's happening, but we know that we do not have time.
We don't have time at all, And this war, for instance, which is we cannot not talking about, it's extremely tragic for all reasons, but also because this will still put a new obstacle to action in terms of climate action, in terms of biodiversity action, etc., etc. People are looking to the war, and it's very understandable, but the dangers of war are very evident. But the dangers of an Earth system unbalance, it's much, much worse.
Much worse. And this instability, global instability, we will see more and more of. What is causing this acceleration? Why is this acceleration happening?
Because our economic system is based on the paradigm of expansion. Economy, you look to, International Monetary Fund, World Bank, etc., etc. And what they say all the time is the economy has to grow. The economy has to grow. If the economy doesn't grow, it is the catastrophe, this is, etc., the tragedy, etc., etc. The question is that more you grow, more you have a kind of exponential growth too. So if you grow, increase 2% a year, which is not enough for them. For them, it's 3% the optimum. But 3% will double the global GDP in 23 years, each 23 years. So of course, as we have an Earth which is limited, is finite, the more we grow the economy, the more we stress all the elements of the Earth system, and their resilience has a limit to. And then we see the wildfires, we see the floods, we see the heat waves, and also the pandemic, because the pandemic is also linked to the destruction of the forests.
Is the pandemic linked to the forest destruction?
Yes, because the virus you have thousands of coronavirus. For instance, just one family of virus, this one. There are thousands of kinds of coronavirus, and these viruses are in the wilderness. They are in equilibrium there. They are in the vertebrates, mammals, etc., like bats and many other mammals, and they are there in equilibrium. And then human activity go there, destroy there, enter in contact with them, and for the virus, this is wonderful. This is wonderful because he jumped to a species which doesn't have any protection against him, and it's very well distributed in the whole world. And because of globalized capitalism too, we are, both of us, I'm in Brazil, you are in the States, but we are in contact because there are a lot of planes and trade, etc., etc. So the virus that is in Brazil will be in New York.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
And vice versa, and
vice versa. Within minutes, within days. Hours.
We have seen this, yes. All kinds of variations of the coronavirus in the last 2 years. It began in South Africa and it's in Hong Kong 2 months after. It's because we are in a very intense contact among us, in economic terms. So we have to respect the forest. The forests are extremely important for everything. First of all, because there we have the source of pollinators. And the pollinators are responsible for 90% of all vitamin C that we need. We need vitamin C, and we cannot produce ourselves. And all the vegetables that provide the vitamin C are pollinated. And we are destroying the bees, we are destroying the insects, we are destroying all the pollinators.
Professor,
And we have to stop it. We have to stop it. And we
that
have
was
very small time, to do it.
what should we do? What do you think? What is our next step action to stop acceleration, to stop this acceleration?
I think that there is a very difficult change to do. Is the idea that we have to understand that any civilization has to evolve with very low rates of consumption of energy and materials. And for 10% of the global population, or 10 or 12 or 15, doesn't matter. The more is the better. And so if you say, to your neighbor that we have to consume less, he will not like you.
No,
He will not vote for you.
no, you won't.
So, but this is extremely important. But 10 or 12 or 3 or 15 or 20% of the humanity have to consume less in order that the 80% can consume the least necessary for them. The FAO, FAO, the UN organization, is showing that the hunger is exploding now. It was diminishing until 2014. And since then, it's again increasing and increasing and increasing. And with this pandemics and the war, we will have a very, very grave problem of hunger in the world. Not only in Africa and not only in South America, also in the developed countries. The poor people in developed countries are now in food insecurity. Many people.
So global capitalism is killing us. It is starving us.
Yeah.
And how can we interrupt this? How can we stop this acceleration caused by this capitalism?
There is one, it's very easy to say, it's very difficult to do, is democracy. We have to have a social control of the strategic investments. And when I say strategic investments, I say about energy, I say about food and mobility, at least these three sectors, energy, food, and mobility, have to transition, to transit to another model. We have to, of course, abandon fossil fuels. We have to stop eating so much meat. It's incredible. Our diet is now based on animal proteins.
Yes.
And this is completely unsustainable. It is completely unsustainable. And also we have to pay attention to pollution. Pollution is now, and so the chemical industrial structure, which produces pesticides and plastics and all kinds of forever chemicals, as is now people are saying, and this is just killing us. The WHO, the World Health Organization, is saying that people are dying. 7 million people per year are dying because of atmospheric pollution. 7 million people is more than a pandemic, and we don't talk about this. We don't talk about this, but it's very clear, and it's not conspiration theories, etc. It's the official institution that are telling us this.
You say one solution is democracy, and you've spoken before about the opposite, corporate control, that very few companies actually control the system.
Absolutely.
Can you talk about that a bit, what you mean by that.
If you take, you have the Fortune 500, this publication,
Yes.
you take a Fortune 500 and you take 11, the 11 top corporations in the world by revenue. 8 of these 11 are fossil fuel industry or are directly linked to the fossil fuel industry. So they have this extreme, huge power. And they control also the government. So you take the big three, the Vanguard, State Street, and BlackRock, which are the managers of funds, etc., etc. They are the biggest owners of ExxonMobil and the other ones. I don't remember the names, but normally the American ones, but also the Total in France, etc., etc. So they control the decisions, and they keep talking about sustainability, etc., etc. But of course, put yourself in their place. If you owned 27% of the ExxonMobil shares, would you care about stopping producing oil? Of course not. Your business is this. Your raison d'etre is to, and they have all they manage $21 trillion in funds. This is a little bit equivalent of the GDP of the United States. This is the amount of resources they are managing now. So we have of course to insurge against these people, and I think the Extinction Rebellion in the United Kingdom is trying to make a new kind of approach, a political approach. We have really to make a kind of insurgency, a pacific one, of course, but because we don't have the means, to not be pacific. We are not armed, and so we have to be pacific, but we have to insurge against these powers, and don't have any illusion anymore that any change can come from them.
It is literally the greed of a handful of companies, the greed and the need for that exponential growth, that acceleration that is driving our entire society, is destroying it, is driving us into the climate crisis.
Yeah, and this will destroy themselves too, but they don't care. They have to have money now, right now, etc. Because why? Because they have to make to present a good result for the share owners, the stakeholders, and then these are the people. Yeah. They have to respond, not us.
Not us. And it goes. It doesn't have to be done that way. Even if we continued on energy and oil, which we should not, it doesn't need to be in this exponential way.
Exactly. Yeah.
This system is a big part of a core problem, a foundational problem.
Yeah, I think you're right. So even if we could decelerate a little bit, would be wonderful. But but not even this we are managing to do. We are accelerating really towards a kind of a wall, and it's a process we can see. We can see all the data are there, etc., etc., and they are 100% in the same direction. 100%. You cannot quote one number that goes in the opposite direction. I think that there is also room for some optimism, and this kind of activity, for instance, is important, but much more is the young people who are mobilizing now, indigenous people in Brazil and South America, and also in the North America too, and and also this awareness that we are in a very deep crisis, and this is the first step. And we cannot know, there is also acceleration in terms of reaction,
Yes.
social reaction.
There you go.
Let's hope.
There, or let's hope. I love that. You break it down and show us what we do right now really matters, and what we do in the next decade is more important than anything. Thank you so much, Professor, for joining us today.
Thank you, Raya. Thank you very much.
And thank all of you for joining us today with Facing Future TV.